Every civilization has a lifespan.
About how many years do you think we got left?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of late stage civilization vibes these days.
Yeah, seriously.
Seriously. Um, um, I don't know, man. There's so many wild cards. I mean, the short term we've got. Um, with the financial crisis, probably some economic thing, but whatever. Those things happen from time to time. Um, but we've got some geopolitical wild cards with Ukraine and Taiwan, and then AI, which is called it's called the singularity for a reason, like because you don't know what's going to happen. It's like a black hole. You go in the black hole, what happens? Don't know. We're on the singularity AI singularity event horizon, circling the black hole.
Well, and does AI concern you more than those other things like geopolitical, nuclear war, or whatever? And where does that fall on the scale for you? I know you've said some cautionary things about it, but I don't know if you're like as much of a doomer as some people are about AI.
I mean, the good news about Russian roulette is 5 of the barrels aren't loaded.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
That's good.
Look on the bright side.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of times people that are in tech are pushing these things forward without any guardrails or consideration, for what could go wrong, despite all the cautionary tales.
What is
like that's what sci-fi is all about. That's
you
why
think there should be
sci-fi is
regulation and stuff like that, right? But what does that look like? How do you regulate AI, for example?
Well, I think you start off with an insight committee that has people that are independent from the leading players, as well as maybe some representatives from the leading players, and that's an insight committee. The goal is simply to learn things, and then consult with industry and propose rules. That's basically how it's worked for food and drug, or for aircraft, or cars. So is that when there's something that is a danger to the public, there's some regulatory body to kind of like a referee, make sure the companies don't cut corners and stuff.
When it comes to, just coming back to speech real quick and Twitter, I've often wondered, in our case with you, we had a situation where this benevolent billionaire comes in and decides, I'm going to make sure free speech exists for people because there's no place where they can speak freely right now. So I'm going to buy Twitter and restore free speech on this platform. Great. We're glad that you did that. Thank you. But should we have to rely on benevolent billionaires to solve these problems for us? Or should there be legal changes? Should there be, like right now, the law currently protects us from government censorship, obviously, right? The First Amendment does that. But it doesn't protect us from private companies that want to muzzle our speech.
Sure.
So should there be legal changes that prevent viewpoint discrimination? And do you support laws like that? Are you aware of some of the legal, the current bills, like in different states that are being pushed along those lines?
There are various bills. I mean, we have to be careful that the bill that's intended to do good does not pave the road to hell. So, I think something that I think would be very powerful is to say that all social media companies have to open source their algorithms, so at least it's known what they're suppressing, and they can't secretly suppress things.
Right.
There's a massive amount of secret suppression going on at Facebook, Google, Instagram. Massive. It's just nonstop secret suppression.
And there was at Twitter.
And yeah, absolutely.
But not anymore, right?
Right. And people call it shadow banning.
Yeah.
Correctly. It's like there's nothing that says that you're banned, but you are effectively, stuck in the basement.
Well, that would be a legal change. That would be a law that requires open source, that if you're going to censor, you better do it transparently. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is that it really doesn't take much to sort of censor something. So there's a lot of censorship that goes on at Google that people don't realize, because all that needs to happen is just move that link to page 5.
Right.
You know, I mean, the thing about the little joke about Google is like, what's the best place to hide a dead body? Well, the second page of Google search results,
Right.
and nobody ever looks there. So if you just nudge something to even page 2, it's going to drop the visibility by 100.
But if you apply that to the principle of freedom of speech, but not of reach, isn't that the same thing? Is there a difference?
Potentially, yeah. That's why
That's where you're saying you got to be careful with how you handle that.
Yeah.
Well, one of the craziest things you did when you took over Twitter was start releasing the Twitter files, which,
Yeah.
like, who takes over a company and then says, look how horrible all this stuff that was going on?
We need to have like truth and reconciliation here,
Yeah.
you know. So if we're not going to expose the things that were done wrong, why should people believe us in the future? So that's why like we're trying to be as transparent as possible. So it's like, don't take my word for it. Literally look at the algorithm. You should be able to recreate the results that you see on Twitter with using that algorithm. And we're trying to make sure that everything is brought to light, not just so there's no hidden layers or anything. We just discovered last week some hidden layer of censorship that was written in 2012. And like censorship is maybe the wrong word. It would basically suppress. It had like a list of words, and any of those words, some of them were like suck. If you put suck, just SUCK. Actually, even with other words, it gets massively de-amplified, and that was literally code from like 2012. And we found this like relic of code last week.
And it was being applied to like all tweets?
Yeah, all tweets.
Wow.
So there's like the guy that's bought a flight on Starship in Japan is his Twitter handle is usuck2020.
Right.
And he was like, listen, there's something wrong with my account, you know.
I think I'm shadow banned.
Yeah. And sure enough, it's because his Twitter handle had suck in it. So it turned out there was about 1,000 words from some ancient list that where tweets were being suppressed. And then we just found a list of URLs that are being suppressed. Some of them are like obviously renowned scammer URLs, but some of them aren't.
It's like BabylonB.com was on the list.
Yeah. So there's just it's like an archaeological dig, frankly.
You talk a lot about wokeness and the woke mind virus and all that. Do you feel like that's what was driving those kinds of decisions here, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, around here, it's not about whether you had had some of the woke Kool-Aid. You're swimming in the woke Kool-Aid. It's like, it's like a fish doesn't see the water, it's swimming in it.
Yeah.
Right.
It just seems normal. Like if you're in the cult, it's normal. The thing is, like, there's actually so much material. Like there's God knows how many lines of Slack, for example.
Right. Yeah.
This company ran on Slack, so it's like one massive group text situation. So it's a lot of material. Not that many emails. Emails mostly were for people coming from outside communications. And then there was that weird government portal that destroyed everything after 2 weeks, which doesn't sound legal. But yeah.
I thought it was amazing how you were, from day one, basically handling customer service.
Yeah.
You were like personally looking at reports from people, trying to dig into things.
Yeah.
And that was like round the clock for you for a little while.
I mean, the sheer layers, this is a tiramisu of bullshit, basically. So many layers. I mean, really, there needs to be a ground-up rewrite. Otherwise we're like going through like this ghost mansion, trying to get the ghosts out one at a time. Still finding ghosts as recently as last week. But we are actually slimming down the code base. We are rewriting a lot of it. the main sort of home timeline mixer was 700,000 lines of code. Now it's 70,000. So it's down by a factor of 10. And does a better job and is faster.
And that's the side of the business you're going to stay involved in and personally invested in, is the tech side.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm setting the overall ground rules, and like the Constitution type of thing, which is very clearly free speech, and that is not a revenue optimizing strategy. So, but we don't need to make a ton of money. We just need to not go bankrupt. So, that's part of the reason for having some amount of subscription revenue. Is not we respect the advertisers, but we don't want to be too dependent on them.
Not go bankrupt. That's the business. That's the end goal.
Not go bankrupt. Hopefully make at least some reasonable return for investors. But it's not like, it's not like just some sort of mercantile optimization. So,
do you think it's possible to run a free speech platform that is profitable?
We're going to find out. So, I think so. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, you can definitely sell your soul to the devil here and increase revenue. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So that that's, and I think it becomes tough especially if you're a publicly traded company. You can be sued for not taking the actions that maximize profitability. So, Jack was right that it was impossible to reform as a public company because you just get excoriated in the market and have a zillion lawsuits. Anyway, so it's like I'm hopeful the platform can be, like I said, the least untrue, closest to true and complete. It's going to be hopefully the whole truth. Probably not nothing but the truth, because there'll be some things that aren't true. But the whole but a diversity of perspectives. So, and a diversity of narratives. So people, can decide what they want to focus on and not be force-fed things.